So if you didn't know this about me, I love collecting bird books. There's a handful of them behind me in all of my studio shots. I read a bunch of different bird books throughout the year, and I actually have a ton on my shelf on display as almost like a decorative piece that I've found in various thrift stores and bookstores when I'm out traveling. So I've slowly accumulated a bunch, and I've read some really great ones this year, so I figured why not make a video sharing some of my favorite bird books as a gift buying guide for you with the holiday season approaching. So I have 5 great books lined up for you that we are about to dive into, and I'll throw in one bonus book at the end that doesn't quite fit into the birding category, but you might find is a great gift for your birding friends, so make sure to stick around for that one. Without further ado, let's get into the books. Book number 1 is The Field Guide to the Dumb Birds of North America. Now I always think it is fun to have a book that is a little silly, likes to make fun of itself a bit, and I will go to a page here to try and describe to you what I'm talking about here. So we have The Great Blue Moron, which of course is actually the Great Blue Heron. It's just a comical collection of various birds in North America, giving them funny names and putting a short blurb about them that is quite entertaining to leaf through. It would make a very good gag gift for any of your birding friends. So yeah, you have the funny category, and this is The Field Guide to the Dumb Birds of North America. Now there's actually a couple other variations of this book too, so you could get the whole set or get a different one very similar to this one. Alright, the second book category is one about conservation. Now I don't actually have the physical book here because I rented the ebook from my library and read it on my Kindle, but this book was so incredible I had to include it without having the physical copy. That book is Nature's Best Hope. I'll put a picture of the cover up here too so you can see it. It is honestly incredible, and I think everyone, birders and non-birders alike, should at least leaf through the book, but I would encourage them to read it really thoroughly because unfortunately a lot of our bird species and nature in general is in serious decline, and this book covers that in the first couple of chapters, but it also, more importantly, proposes a solution to that problem that we are currently facing. And it talks about how we need to have a better connection to nature and invite and bring nature into our backyards, talking about very beneficial native plants to various ecosystems and stuff. It is both eye-opening in the beginning, and then it is very informative and gives a very compelling solution that I think needs to be pushed to many more people. So I really highly encourage lots of people to read Nature's Best Hope. It is a great book, and its whole mission is seriously incredible and one I can stand behind as a nature and bird lover myself. Also, just so you know, I've personally read and leafed through all of these books that I'm mentioning today. There's a ton of birding books that I plan to read very soon and within the next year. So if you have any recommendations yourself, make sure to leave them in the comments. They might make it onto my early 2026 reading list. Book number 3 is The Backyard Bird Chronicles by Amy Tan. This one was such a fun little read, just reading a couple of days before bed. I say days because this is organized like a journal. Each page is a different day that Amy Tan writes about her experience watching and observing the birds in her backyard, which at face value you might think that might be a little boring, just hearing about someone's collections about what they see in their backyard, but firstly, for you bird lovers, she seeds a ton of species and has a very impressive yard list. But secondly, she kind of talks about her journey through nature journaling, and she has some pretty phenomenal artwork within this book as well. Some of her personally hand-drawn things in her own nature journal. And you kind of get to follow her adventure over many years of birding, nature journaling, and just observations just from her backyard. It is one that's a very easy, light read to just sift through, and like I said, I really enjoyed reading a couple days worth of things, just 5-ish pages before I would go to bed each night. So yeah, The Backyard Bird Chronicles is another great one. Also, of course, all of these birding books will be linked in the description below, and in all of my videos I generally link to my website that shows all of the YouTube gear I use, birding gifts I'd recommend, and a bunch of other products you might enjoy. Make sure to check out those links if you're interested in any of these specific books I mentioned. Moving to the fourth category, field guides, and more specifically, niche field guides. I have talked about this book previously. This is the Gull Guide by Amar Ayash. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. This is an incredible book for people who are trying to improve their gull identification like myself. And you might be curious as to why someone would want a book like this over a more typical field guide like the Sibley Guide to Birds that I have and use previously. Well, when you are struggling on a particular group like this, or you want to get more in-depth information on a group like gulls, you can turn to a niche field guide like this one. There is far more information about gulls specifically here than you will ever find in a field guide. And that's because the goals of those books are different. A field guide is giving a quick, brief overview of all the birds you could potentially find in the area that it's designed for, whereas these niche species-focused field guides have incredibly in-depth information about that particular group of species. Now there's also ones out there for warblers, there's ones for shorebirds. I haven't personally looked at those yet. I'd like to someday, but this one is one I have turned to constantly as I've tried to improve my own gull identification, or I've been struggling to ID a particular gull I've seen out in the field. I will bring this out as I'm looking through my photos and videos of that species. I've honestly read this one a little bit before bed too, focusing on the species around my area that I've been trying to learn really well. As nerdy as that might sound, I'm really trying to improve some of my ID skills, so a niche bird guide and education focused category, this book is a perfect gift for someone trying to work on their own gull skills. And then the last category of books here, I have a coffee table book. I believe I've talked about this one on the channel once before, but this is What It's Like to Be a Bird by David Sibley. Now, David Allen Sibley is more well known obviously for those field guides I've just mentioned in the last book coverage, but here is a lesser known book by him talking about what it's like to be a bird. And this is a fun one just to have out as decoration on your coffee table. It has very big pages, talks about a lot of bird things in the beginning, and then it goes into one species per page or two. So if I flip this one open here, here's a page about vultures, and it'll give some fun facts and things and stuff that you can share with your guests that you have over, because everyone loves hearing about fun bird facts. So, What It's Like to Be a Bird for the coffee table category. Now thank you for sticking around through all these 5. I promised you a bonus book if you stuck around to this point, and I'm gonna get that right now. So this one isn't particularly focused on birds itself, but it can help a lot of people in their pursuit of improving their birding skills. Now, I have not read this super thoroughly. I've been slowly going through it because it's a fairly new book to me, but this is The Habitats of North America, a field guide for birders, naturalists, and ecologists. Wow, ecologists. I am struggling to pronounce words today. By Phil Cannon, Ian Campbell, and there's a lot of photography in here by Ben Newt. So why would this be a great book for birders, you might ask? Well, I mean, obviously it says a field guide for birders, naturalists, and ecologists. So birders is mentioned right there. But learning your habitats can really help you out as a birder, especially when you're referencing field guides that mention specific habitats. You can more easily locate those specialty birds that use certain habitats. You can start to learn the habitats around you and recognize the environment you're in. And this book does have a strong focus in mentioning certain species in those habitats, especially birds. So this might be one you don't originally think of when you're talking about birding books and gifts for your birding friends, but it's one I think you should consider. Hope you liked all those suggestions in the various categories for birding books that I brought up today. If you have any of your own recommendations, leave them in the comments below so I can give them a read myself, and maybe I'll have to do a part 2 about this next year once I've covered a few more birding books myself. Thank you for watching. As always, I'll see you in the next one. Happy birding.